Hi,
Hi, Mike.
Heather. Hi, audience.
How are you? How is everyone out there?
Yes, I'm fine. The same. How about you, Heather?
Doing good.
Okay. I hope the audience out there is doing well.
So, what's new with you? Do you have any future plans coming up?
Well, let's see here. So the last live stream was on June 15th,
Hmm.
and since then I haven't been too far from home. Just a lot of one-day hikes and kayaking.
Ooh.
I was supposed to go to Yosemite for July 4th, but that kind of fell through.
Hmm.
But I'm looking forward to my big summer travel splurge coming up soon. And yeah, things I plan to do are going to Washington State to climb Mount Olympus and Mount Baker. Hope to go back to Burning Man. I want to bicycle the Camino de Santiago in Spain and hike across the Grand Canyon both
Ooh.
ways in the middle of August.
That sounds good. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Thank you.
So, how are you going to do this all and not like fall asleep? Because if it was me, I would be sleeping so hard.
Well, you sleep at night. These are backpacking
I'd be
trips.
so tired from all of this.
Well, I'd like to think I'm in pretty good shape, so
You
I
are
will
in
be fine.
amazing
I
You
will
are
be
in amazing
fine.
shape. I've said this before, I'll say it again. You are in better shape than some 30-year-olds that I've seen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, um, yes, thank you. Oh, I did want to say in terms of how I've been. Yesterday, I got my first colonoscopy. You're
Oh,
supposed to start getting those at the age of 50. And I'll try to tell you about it with not being very graphic. But a colonoscopy is where they go up with a probe up through your backside to check that your gut is okay. And also, they went through my mouth too. So I haven't heard
uh,
any results yet, but let me give you some advice. That the procedure itself, they put you completely to sleep with propofol. So whatever they did to me, I have no idea. It's like they say, um, we're gonna give you the anesthetic, and within a few seconds you're out, and the next thing you remember, you're in the recovery room, and it's all very it's like they do this all day long. It's like getting a haircut. First, someone calls you from the waiting room and they ask you a bunch of questions and you sign a bunch of forms and they took my blood pressure at this point and they were just horrified it was so high. They took it four times and taking an average of the four, it was like 200 over 100. And
oh, wow.
they said, did you know your blood pressure is so high? And I said, no, I thought it was fine. My GP, which stands for general practitioner, um, didn't remark about it. I don't know what numbers are good and what are bad, and they kept retaking it just in case the machine was malfunctioning. So they got me all stressed out about that, and that probably even increased my blood pressure even more. Um, but I think that I was kind of nervous about the procedure because when I got back home, I got a blood pressure cuff from CVS, and there it measured about 140 over 70, which is a lot better. So, but anyway, that freaked me out. But let me warn you that before the procedure, you have to cleanse yourself. And what they gave me was this stuff called Go Lightly. And this stuff tasted awful. It's just like a little powder that you mix with a gallon of water. And I mean, Mrs. Wizard did this a month ago and she was okay
Ooh.
with it. But I just couldn't stand this stuff. And the nurse who checked me in said that there's also a pill you can take or a series of pills, which I wish I would have done, but nobody presented to me that option. Um, but yeah, I just want to warn people about that. And but yeah, you do need to fast and be as clean as possible before this procedure. But
Yeah,
the procedure itself is fine. After I woke up, I could tell that my throat felt kind of weird because I'm sure they were jamming stuff down it. But yeah. So there you go. I recommend everyone over 50 to do it yourself. Not that big of a deal.
when they put the camera down your throat, that's the endoscopy, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
then the prep for this is horrible.
Oh,
Like,
you've
this
been
is
through it
just,
too?
oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've done a colonoscopy and endoscopy before, and it's not fun.
What kind of cleanse did you do?
What kind of what?
Cleanse.
Oh, goodness. Okay, so not to get into too much detail, I have autoimmune disorders and I have to go to the doctor a lot. That's just part of life. So I've had probably 15 colonoscopies and endoscopies starting from the age of 20. So I've done everything. Like, I've done the pill, I've done the drinking, it's just miserable no matter what. So it's not fun. So I having to go through that, dude. Both of you guys, you and your wife, man, that's hard.
Well, you've been through it way more than us, so we salute you.
Oh, it's just, you know. I don't want to get into it on the live stream, but
All right. That's enough about this topic.
So do you want to do the trivia and the questions?
Yes. So today's trivia is going to be in honor of Pioneer Day. What is Pioneer Day, you may ask? This is the day that Mormons, also known as Latter-day Saints, celebrate the pilgrimage to the Salt Lake area, what they would call the Promised Land. And that happens on July 20, July 22nd this year. So let's see how we do with some LDS trivia. So the first question is, where was the first temple built?
Okay, and LDS is Mormon for anyone.
Yeah, that stands for Latter-day Saints.
Yeah. So the first temple.
Yep.
Okay, so if you guys know the answer to this trivia, put it in the chat. And while we are waiting for you guys to answer, we have a few gambling questions that we're going to go through. And the very first question for today is from Jean. The Encore Boston has just reached the 11th hour deals with their unions. How are union casino relations in Vegas? Are they cordial and equal, or does one side have much more power than the other side?
This is getting outside my area of expertise. I do know that once in a while, when contracts need to be redone, there are like preliminary strikes. But it always seems that, much like in Boston, something gets worked out at the 11th hour. And but just knowing casino employees, you hardly ever hear the topic come up. I think most people are generally happy with their job and the conditions and so on and so forth. And when I worked at the Venetian, that is not union, I never heard once anybody say we should get a union, because I think the workers there were really treated quite well. And so that's about all I can say about that. Heather, having worked in Vegas, I think your opinion might be more valuable.
Oh, thank you. So when I was a casino dealer, we actually tried to get a union for the dealers, and it was extremely difficult. And the reason why we wanted a union was because of the tip controversy that happened over at the Wynn, where he was labeling floor supervisors like team leaders, and then they were part of the toke pool. So that way he wouldn't have to give his floorman a raise. He just took the money out of the dealer tips and gave it to the floorman. So this caused people wanting to unionize all throughout Las Vegas. And we tried at the casino I was at. My friend was the union leader of that area trying to get this done. And the casino I worked at fired him because of this, because they were so anti-union, and they did union busting tactics, and they were very, against this and everything. And it failed. We did the vote, and the vote failed. And that's what happened to a lot of casinos. The vote failed. Only one or two casinos actually got the contract. And I believe there's only one or two casinos that have a union for the casino dealers. And again, the casino dealers are completely different from the culinary union, two different unions. But from our experience, they were very anti-union.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Do you want to do another question?
Yes.
Okay. Northern Jim says, as foretold by the wizard a long time ago, are all the hotels now fully booked for the eclipse?
Well, the total eclipse is not going to run through Las Vegas. Not to say that you were implying that it would, but yeah, I am quite sure that hotels along the eclipse line are all booked solid. And if you were to find anything, it's probably going to be at an outrageous price. So that's why I tried to tell my fans to be on it early, especially on April 8th this year, because a lot of hotels book out exactly a year in advance or release a month chunk a year in advance. And so, yeah, I think that if you haven't planned a hotel room yet, what I would probably recommend is get lodging as close to the eclipse path that you can, and preferably kind of a remote area, and just drive into the eclipse path on the day of the eclipse and expect horrible traffic. So leave really early. And if you get there 5 hours too early, don't complain about it. Just use that time to get excited and talk to other eclipse followers.
And something to add to that, if people have a hard time getting a hotel room in Las Vegas, one other thing that they could do is, if they're going with a group of people, like several families, you can go through the sales department where they sell groups of rooms together at a cheaper price. And they usually hold these for the groups. And if everything else is booked, they may have some available for you.
That's good to know, but at this point, I don't think that would help because I think everything is already sold.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and just to be clear, the eclipse path is cutting from Texas all the way to Maine, so Vegas is going to be nowhere close to it.
Okay, so the
Okay.
answer to the trivia question,
Mhm.
was it Pittsburgh,
Nope.
New York?
Nope.
Now, is this a place, Go Lightly?
No, that's the cleanse that I had to take. It's called Go Lightly.
Oh, okay. Wasn't sure what that was.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Any other?
Nope.
Yeah, I don't see any correct answers here. So the correct answer was Kirkland, Ohio. Why, you might ask? It's because I think the movement started in New York and they decided to go west. And their first place where they tried to make a settlement was Kirkland, Ohio, where they were for a while and built the temple. But then they basically got chased out of town. And then this leads to the second question: is where did they get chased to and build the second temple?
Okay, so if you guys know, put that in the chat. Glad I kept my mouth shut because I almost said something and it might have been the right answer. It might not have been. I'm not sure, but okay. Oh, hey, can we do the chat? I always forget that we have a private chat. Sorry,
Yeah.
people. Okay, is this it?
No.
Oh, good. I would have been wrong. Okay, cool. Okay, so our next question comes from Northern Jim, who says, at Pie Gal Poker on a full table, if a player insists on banking at every opportunity, forcing everyone else to wait, if I play and take that person's money, who is the rudest? Who is the rudest, me or him?
Okay, first of all, everybody has every right to bank when it's their turn, and they are not being rude at all. That is their privilege. That's the rules of the game. And if you don't want to play against that person, then just don't. You have no justification to get angry at them. So if you play against that person, nobody has the right to be angry. Neither of you were rude. And much like the player who was banking, he has no right to get mad at you. Both players want to win. When I lose a game fair and square to somebody, I say congratulations, well played, something like that. So just be a good sport. And I've been at the Pie Gal Tiles games many times and asked to bank, and players often complain about it. One thing they'll say is, this table is running good. Why do you want to screw up the mojo? And another thing they'll say is, I don't want to win your money. I want to win the casino's money. And to that, I don't like to cause any hard feelings at the table. So lots of times I will stop banking if the people are nice about it. Like they say it politely, like, I would prefer you not bank. I'm here to win the casino's money. That's fine. And I probably won't. In fact, usually before I bank, I will ask the other players, do you mind if I bank? However, in the case of a player who insists on doing it, that's their right, and you have no right to complain. That is my opinion there.
Very cool. Okay, so our next question comes from Stista. If someone is only going to play once in a quick one-off session, does it make enough of a difference to only play games with a low house edge, or will variance be the biggest factor in their winnings?
Yeah, the shorter the session, the more variance there is, the more important variance is, and the less important the house edge is. And with a long session, the important thing is the house edge and not so much the variance. So if you were to just play a really short session, and again, it depends kind of what your goals are, but I always recommend trying to lower the house advantage as much as you can. So I'm not really sure I exactly understand the question, but I'll just say that that in a short session, the house edge is not so significant. And therefore, if you like one game over the other, even if it has a slightly higher house edge, just go ahead and play it. Gambling is supposed to be for fun. And, I don't know what else to say. That's the best I can do with that one.
I completely agree. Gambling should be for fun. And
Yep.
yeah, if you're only playing for like 10 minutes, just have fun.
Yep.
Okay, so the next question is from Paul Andrews, who says, any thoughts on the skill-based slots at Binions, such as Arkanoid and Asteroids?
Speaking of Binions, I was just there for the first time on Monday. And it looked pretty much just the way Bally's did. They relocated the poker room, and it looked like there was a fancier bar by the check-in area, but it still mostly looked the same. And I didn't happen to notice these games, but with skill-based games in general, I'll say this, that the way the games maintain a consistent return to player is that they vest a certain percentage of all money bet into the next bonus round. And if a player does badly in the bonus, they'll only suck out a little bit of money from that bonus pool. So, so the way I would do a skill-based game in general is look at how much money has been like vested in to the next bonus, and how they explain that is probably going to be different for every single game. But I've seen it in Space Invaders. But yeah, I think the skill there is only playing when there is a lot of credits or money vested into that bonus. And I think that the skill factor is, I think that, how shall I put this? That just an average player can probably do pretty well at these games. And I think that they tend to make the skill factor rather easy. So yeah, so it's not so much your skill with the game, but finding the right machines to play. And I know these are all general statements, but that's about the best I can do with that question.
Sounds pretty good. We will do one more, and then we'll go to the trivia answers. Paul asks, can you show us how to understand the Nevada gaming revenue reports and confirm my belief that nickel slots consistently have payback that's as good as dollars?
I don't want to dig this up right now, but I've looked at the reports, and it seemed to me that the RTP for dollar slots was better than for nickels. But maybe I will make an Ask the Wizard question out of this. Let me write it down, because this one will need a little bit of preparation to answer properly.
Maybe we could turn it into a video.
Yeah, I'll think about that. Okay, so sorry, off the top of my head, I just don't know about that one.
Okay, so the answer to the trivia question, we had one person give an answer. And was it to Salt Lake?
No, it was kind of a trick
Oh.
question. It was not to Salt Lake. It was not built in Salt Lake.
Where was it?
But I do see the right answer.
Oh, you do?
Northern Gym. It was Nauvoo, Illinois.
Oh, I missed
Yep.
that.
So yes, they tried again further west in Nauvoo, and I have many relatives from there, by the way, and they again got chased out of Nauvoo, and Joseph Smith got murdered there, and so
Ooh.
that's why they continued on west and all the way to Salt Lake City.
Okay.
The Great Salt Lake City, as they call it.
So is the next trivia question, how did he get murdered?
It was just by an angry mob. And I don't think that he died immediately. I think he died a few days later. And I know there was kind of a little bit of a power vacuum after he died. But as the story goes, he wished for Brigham Young to be the next leader. Okay, so let's go on to the next question. Where was the first temple completed in the state of Utah?
Okay, so if you guys know the answer to that, put it in the chat. Our next question, while we are waiting for you guys, comes from Paul, who says, if I have 20% of the full bet amount when using Wager Saver or Lucky Spin, do I have a 20% chance of winning? If so, am I better off playing the same bet amounts that I am comfortable with on a higher denomination to improve the house edge?
So, if I may ask, is Wager Saver the thing where if you have less credits than the minimum bet, then you can like take a chance on a spinning wheel to get rounded up to a full bet? Do you know, Heather?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I am
maybe,
not a slot person.
yeah, maybe if you could rephrase the question, Paul, to remind me what Wager Saver is.
Okay, so we will come back to that one. The next is from Technics, who says, why doesn't Vegas use pre-shuffled card decks for their blackjack games?
That's a good question. So as background in Baccarat, they do use pre-shuffled shoes of cards. And the reason they do that is they only will use a shoe once, allowing the players to bend and rip the cards if they wish. So they go through a lot of cards in Baccarat. And to save time, they buy them pre-shuffled from the company. But in blackjack, they reuse the same cards. And to save time, they run them through a shuffling machine. So as long as they have a shuffling machine, they may as well just let the shuffling machine shuffle the cards. And Heather, I'm sure you can speak to this better than me, but usually before they open a table, the dealer will wash both a red deck and a blue deck and shove them in the machine and let the machine shuffle them further. And
Yeah.
I assume the audience knows how those machines work. And sometimes when they need to replace the cards, they will go just do the same procedure with the players at the table. So my answer is there's really no need to, because they have machines at the table to pre-shuffle them.
Yeah. And when they do this on Baccarat, like you were saying, they save time, but it's to increase the house edge. So Baccarat is one of those games where they have a lot of whales play on it. And if you have a whale, you don't want to spend 10 minutes having the dealer shuffling the deck. You want them to get the new deck in, so that way they can keep the hands per hour up on that game. And that's why they have the pre-shuffled hands in there. Now with blackjack, using the shuffle machine, they pay a monthly fee for those shuffling machines, but I also know that they pay an outside company to do the pre-shuffles for the decks too. So which one's more expensive? I don't know.
Well, to that I'll say that pre-shuffling the decks does not affect the house edge, but it does get you more hands per hour, which means more money for the casino. And it's my understanding that the company that makes the cards themselves does the pre-shuffling and sells, like, eight deck bricks of cards by the thousands. And there's a lot of security behind it. Like the package is very tightly wrapped and everything, so people can't tinker with it. And I don't like to disagree with you, but I have never once heard of a casino hiring an outside company to shuffle their cards.
I love it when you disagree with me. I have so much fun when we go back and forth. It's just such a blast. No, please disagree with me if you disagree with me.
Okay, thanks. By the way, go ahead.
Every casino's different, so maybe this was something that this one particular casino did. I don't know.
Now, I do know that the Jackpot Casino in Red Deer, Alberta, has different employees shuffling. For example, in blackjack or whatever game, they have some people on shuffling where all they do is shuffle cards.
That's
so
true.
When they need a new deck, they just bring it in from this other table that was shuffling.
Yep, that's very true.
But I think that they rotate the employees, like, okay, you're on card shuffling for an hour.
Yeah, we did that at our casino.
Oh, by the way, go ahead.
Where they had one dealer specifically for shuffling, and then they just had a lot of pre-shuffle decks getting ready.
Yeah, and you see this on live dealer internet casinos a lot, where somebody comes along and shuffles the cards at the same table.
I think with this one, the player specifically requested it because he didn't like the pre-shuffled deck, so he wanted to actually see the dealer shuffle the decks so he could watch him shuffle while he was playing.
Okay. Yep. Okay, by the way, something that was asked about the last live stream was this tunnel, this Tesla tunnel. Yes. And I did some research on that, and there is a tunnel that goes from Resorts World to the convention center by the West Gate. And as I understand it, I haven't ridden it, is you have Teslas that go back and forth in this tunnel shuttling people. And I hear you need to have like a badge from the whatever convention you're at to take this shuttle, and they supply the Teslas. You don't need to bring your own. In fact, I don't think you can bring your own. And yeah, that's about all I can say about that. I'd still be interested to try it the next time I do a show at the main Las Vegas Convention Center, which has been a long time. They now do the Global Gaming Expo at the or the Sands Convention Center.
Okay.
Okay. New topic.
Do you want new topic?
Well, let's see what we got on the first temple. And remember, the way I worded it was, which was the first temple completed?
Was it Des Moines?
That was an answer to the previous question, and it's pronounced Des Moines, and no.
How about Salt Lake City?
Right. It was kind of a trick question. Salt Lake City is not the right answer. And it also is not Provo. The answer is St. George. So you might say,
okay.
how is it not? Yes, there we go. Grand Flash, Herb, got it right. Good point. You get a point there. So the Salt Lake one was started first, but they had such a grand ambition for that one that it took a long time to build that one. And meanwhile, they started on the St. George one, which was more modest, and therefore St. George was completed before Salt Lake City.
Cool. Okay, what's the next one?
The next one is, by what two terms or job descriptions could you use for the leader of the LDS church?
Okay, so if you guys know the answer to this, put it in the chat. And we have some comments, not some questions. Yes Note said that they are coming from New Zealand to Vegas. And you've done that flight a few times. That's a long flight, isn't it?
It's actually not as long as you might think. When I flew from LA to Sydney, I believe it was only about 11 or 12 hours, whereas it takes 15 to get to Shanghai. And you would think, wouldn't it be longer to get to Australia because it's so far further south, way down in the southern hemisphere? But actually, I think the jet stream plays into it. But New Zealand is only 4 time zones away from Las Vegas. So you're really not traveling that far west. You are traveling way down south. But all things considered, I think it could be said that Shanghai is further from LA than Sydney. And if somebody wants to do that on Google Maps and measure it, by all means, either confirm or deny that. But I do know that the flight time was a lot shorter. And I will also say that Air New Zealand has the best safety video ever. I don't know if they still run it, but it was basically a parody of the whole Lord of the Rings thing.
I love that.
Go to YouTube and search on Air New Zealand safety video. And they've had different versions, but they're all great. And I hope they're still running those. But,
I love that.
But yeah, have a good flight and have a good time in Vegas. And I love New Zealand, so. But I understand. But I also love traveling in general. So,
Here's my question: where's your favorite place to travel? Like, just.
I don't I just believe in traveling in general to different places, and it's not so much that one place is better than all the rest. I just like traveling and seeing new places in general. It doesn't mean that I don't go back to places I've been before, but I like to mix it up between going to new places and revisiting places that I've already been, because I already know my way around a little bit. So there are pros and cons both ways, but I'll just say that one of my favorite places is New Zealand, especially the South Island.
Nice. Okay, so going back to, did we do the next trivia question?
So the last question was, what are the 2 terms you can use to address the leader of the LDS Church?
And then now we are going to do gambling questions. And the next gambling question we have is from Sean, who says, I have found a game with a one-pass shuffle for Casino War. What are some game protection measures to identify and limit shuffle trackers?
Boy, that is such a good question. I don't have a good answer for it. To identify and limit shuffle trackers. Well, it's easy to say to just shuffle the deck more. So shuffle tracking is not my area of expertise, but if a casino does not do a very thorough shuffle, what players might do is just memorize a sequence of like 5 cards. And so if this 5 cards remains intact through the shuffle and the player sees the first 4 cards in the sequence on the next time it's dealt through, they'll have a very good chance of knowing what the next card is. And if, like, let's say you're playing blackjack and you know that next card is an ace, shove out your money. Yeah, to be honest, I think the only defense is to do a better shuffle.
And you can actually find a better shuffle if you read the book Casinoology. It might be in Casinoology too. But if you check that out on Amazon, they have a shuffle in there where it's difficult to track the cards. It's really interesting. The other thing too is for protecting the game as the dealer. When you hand the deck to the oh, you have it.
Mm-hmm.
You have it.
1 and 2.
Okay. I think it's number 2, if I remember correctly. And there's an actual like section where he goes into like what the best 6 deck to 8 deck shuffle is that counters tracking. Anyway, while you're looking at that and looking for that, when you hold the deck and you give the deck to the player, if the player takes the cut card and runs it on the edge of the deck, that usually signifies that they are shuffle tracking and they're looking for a particular card. You can technically see it. I know some people wear devices such as a ring with a flat plate that's kind of like a mirror. So when you're holding the card and you're going through it, you could see the reflection of what the card is in the ring, the mirror. So it's really interesting. But check out those 2 books, and they have a lot of information on game protection.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, these books are written for the benefit of the casino side, but I think that as a player who's into advantage play like shuffle tracking, you can take advantage of them too. And I thought that when a player, runs the cut card along the deck, it might also be that they have a camera up their sleeve and are recording every single card.
Yeah, there's so much. I mean, people are really ingenious when they come up with different ways of scamming and cheating, and it's very, very interesting.
Okay, so that's about the best I can do with that one.
Okay. Next one is from Northern Jim. If you were forced to play roulette, would you align bets such as black, even 22, or would you hedge them, red, odd 22?
Well, I almost never play roulette because it has a high house advantage, but I probably would hedge a little bit, just because I don't like risk. And that's about all I can think to say about that one.
Okay. Do you want to see if people have a answer to the trivia question?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I see one answer that might be it. Is it the Grand Wizard?
Nope. Good
Okay.
guess, though.
Definitely not elder. Those are the young people. Let's see. I don't see anything else. Do you see anything else?
I'm afraid not.
Okay.
No, the answers are president or prophet.
Prophet. Okay.
Yes, they believe that the church president can communicate directly with God, therefore making him a prophet.
Okay. I put
Okay.
something in the private chat for us.
Okay. And I'm going to have to give you guys like the easiest one I can think of.
Mhm.
So I don't think you're going to know which book of scripture contains the articles of faith. Where was the first temple built outside the United States? Okay, here's one. What is the minimum age for baptizing children in the LDS Church?
Okay, so if you know that, put that in the chat. Before we go on to the next question, check out what I said to you in the private chat.
Okay.
And we have a comment that says, I want to thank you for all the information on your website. I've had much better results playing Blackjack and Ultimate Hold'em.
You're very welcome. Yeah, and those are two of the best games to play in the casino. So happy to hear that my advice is being followed.
Our next question. Oh, sometimes my scroller moves and then I have to go back to where I was at. Our next question is from Joshua, who says, a slots question. Betting 150 credits at 1 cent or 75 credits at 2 cents. Generally, is there a difference in the RTP, assuming neither is max bet?
My short answer is no. I will say that with some slot machines, the RTP, especially with older machines, that the RTP goes up as the denom goes up. So it would be better to say, let's say you could bet 1 to 10 cents as a denom. It would be better to bet one line at 10 cents than 10 lines at 1 cent. Sometimes it was all the same, but with the more modern machines, there often is a max bet incentive, but beyond that, it usually doesn't make any difference.
Okay. So our next question comes from Technics. Sometimes I pocket chips when playing blackjack, so it appears that I have lost when I've actually won. Does this throw off the tracking of the dollar amount of chips the table is supposed to have?
Yes, and casinos don't like it when people do that. But nevertheless, it is a way to make it appear that you're losing more than you really are, which is, I think, the reason a lot of players do that. Still, the majority of the way players get comped is based on play, not win or loss. But it does help a little bit to lose. So I would say it's probably about 70% the play and 30% the win loss, maybe even like 80-20. But as a player, you don't worry about what the casino's worrying about. If the casinos, if that throws off their tracking, then so be it. Let it throw it off. And the casinos, by the way, call that the float. Is they know how many chips that they have on the floor,
Exactly.
and how many are roughly how many have been purchased by players, and there's always a difference, and they call that the float. And they don't like the float, but they know it exists. And in any business, nothing is perfect. And again, as a player, just let the casino worry about that. That's their problem.
Yeah, and the dealer sees this. The dealer sees this and tells the floor supervisor. So don't think you're totally on the down low.
Yeah, I do know that lots of times the dealers will tell the supervisors, or the supervisors might know directly that players are doing that. And who knows, maybe they flag such players in their files. I don't know. It's possible. Don't really know.
Okay, so our next question comes from Dirty Atiru. If a bonus game is a match to win the prize and you get it down to 2 options left, is it true? Is it a true 50-50? Or was it all just a show and your outcome was decided when you entered the bonus game?
Okay, I get asked this a lot, and sometimes it's done fairly where the player controls his own fate, and sometimes it's predestined what you're going to win. And a good way to tell is that, let's say that you're just picking icons until you get whatever is the bonus ending icon. If they show you what was behind every symbol after the bonus is over, then it probably was all fair and the prizes were shuffled and you did have control over your own fate. But if they don't show you, it probably was all just for show, and no matter what you pick, you would have ended up with the same amount. So that's about the best I can do with that one.
Okay. Our next question is, sorry, did you see them light up the giant new sphere?
Not yet. I'm looking forward to seeing that. It doesn't get dark until so late right now that when I do go to the strip, it tends to be during the day. Who knows? I might see it tonight. I do have somewhere to go near the strip after this, and if I can drag that appointment out long enough, maybe I will check that on the way home, and hopefully it will be on. I don't even know if they turn it on every night, but I am looking forward to seeing that.
Let me know if you want me to send you some videos, because local news took a video of the eye, and some of the stuff they've shown is just really creepy.
Well, I've seen on my Facebook feed a lot of people show videos of it. And
oh, good. So you've seen something.
Yeah. But I really like the one that's either the moon or the whole Earth. But yeah, just bringing this up motivates me to drive that way on my way home after later today. So
my favorite is the melting metal that waves. And then also it looks sort of like Epcot Center at Disney World, where it's like with the lines and everything. Those two are my favorite. The eye creeps me out. I don't like the eye. No.
I will say that one time when I first went to Burning Man, some camp did this. They had basically a fake moon up there, and I think I was totally fooled by it. And this was my first time there, and it was already confusing enough to try to find my camp. And then throwing out this fake moon out there only made it worse. But nevertheless, it was a great, I guess I'll say, a joke, and they did such a good job with it. And then after the real moon came out, you had two moons, and you couldn't tell them apart. It was very amusing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you take a picture? I want to see that.
Yeah, I wish had I taken pictures of it, it probably wouldn't have turned it wouldn't have looked that impressive. Like when you take pictures of the moon without zooming in, they just aren't impressive. But what a great idea that was. I mean, I don't know if they meant to get people lost, but I can take a joke well. So I don't know. It was both frustrating but very clever.
That sounds pretty amazing. But yeah, you are absolutely right about that. If you guys have a gambling question for Mike, please put it in the chat. We have about 10 minutes left. Our next question comes from Grand Flash Herb. Is there any Spanish 21 left in Las Vegas?
That's a good question. Off the top of my head, I can't name any place that has it for sure. Let me check my website real quick. So if you go to Wizard of Vegas, and where did we put this? Guides, and I should know my own site better. No, surveys. So I'm clicking on Blackjack Survey, which was last updated in October. No, Blackjack Variance Survey, which unfortunately has not been updated since February 14th, 2017. going to do a search on Spanish 21. Okay, even back in 2017, we don't have listed any Spanish 21. It is possible we missed the table, but based on that, I'm going to have to say probably not.
Yeah. Plus, after the pandemic and everything, they closed tables. They took a lot of stuff out. Like there were a lot of changes made and everything to how the casino floor was arranged.
Yeah, I think the old Casino Royale still had Spanish 21, but they went slots only during the pandemic.
I know the Hard Rock used to have it before it shut down.
Yeah.
Like
Okay, that's the best I can do with that one.
Okay. So the answer to the trivia question, is it 1 year old?
Nope.
Okay. How about 8 years old?
Yes.
Oh, yay.
Grand Flash Herb. You get a point. Good job.
Woo.
Okay. Okay. Here's what I think is probably an easy one. What does the Word of Wisdom, which is a section of the, I think it's the Doctrine and Covenants, say are the 3 things that people should avoid to keep their bodies healthy?
So if you
question, what 3 things should people not consume?
So if you guys know, put that in the chat. Our next question comes from Joshua, who says, in Ultimate Texas Hold'em, is there any advantage in players playing their cards face up? Does it influence others on whether to raise or fold?
Okay, so there is always, how should I put this? Seeing other player cards, if you know how to use the information properly, is always a good thing. But most players do not know how to use the information properly. And James Grosjean's books do indicate strategies for how to deviate from the basic strategies of games like UTH when you can see other player cards. But it makes things very complicated. And unless you can see a whole lot of them, it usually doesn't help very much. Nevertheless, I've at the electronic UTH games, which you see a lot in Europe, you can just openly see all the players' cards. And I've found that personally, I seem to hang myself with my own rope when I do this. Like, let's say I have a low pair and I see the same rank in other players' cards. I'm going to think I have less of a chance to improve myself. So I will delay making the bigger bets in marginal situations. And I don't know, it just seems that when I deviate from the strategy, it usually works against me. Now, maybe this is confirmation bias, but my advice would be that if you're just flying by the seat of your pants, do not look at the other player cards, because I think you're going to just muddy the waters and lead yourself into making strategy deviations that you shouldn't. And that is about all I have to say on that one.
Okay, so our next question comes from Northern Jim. At Ultimate Texas Hold'em last week, there were 4 kings on the board and the dealer had the ace. Are the odds of that happening really low?
Okay, UTH last week, there were 4 kings on the board and the dealer had the ace. That doesn't, I mean, assuming there are 4 kings on the board, the chances of the dealer having an ace are not that low. In fact, let's work it out. So if we take 4 eights out, so there's 48 cards left, then the number of ways you can pick 2 cards is 1,128. And the way you can pick, but if we take the 4 aces out as well, then the number of ways you can choose 2 cards out of 44 is 946. So if we divide 946 by 1128, we get 83.9%. So the probability that the dealer will have an ace in this situation is 16.1%. If I did my math correctly off the top of my head. So yeah, it wasn't that unlikely that the dealer would have an ace and outkick you. Again, 16% chance. So
Okay.
there you go.
Our next question comes from Dice Grinders, who says, "Are those bubble craps machines rigged? I hear they program them like slot machines."
No, they are not rigged. They are fair. There's no reason to rig them. The house has an advantage on the machines, much like they do at the live tables. So no, there are no magnets or blowing air or whatever. They're fair.
Okay. I like it when they're quick. Are there any blackjack side bets that are worth it? And this was from Mills.
Yeah, short answer there is no. I think of all side bets as sucker bets. So some are bigger sucker bets than others, but I can't think of a single one that I would endorse.
What my own question, what would the range for the house edge be to consider it good versus consider it being a sucker bet? Like, what would your range be?
Well, the house edge on side bets tends to range from about 5% to 25%. So I view them all of them as sucker bets. However, again, some are worse than others. So like the Lucky under the original pay table had a house advantage I think was only 3.3, which was quite good. But the company that owned that sold the rights, and the company that bought it immediately went to a stingier pay table. So again, I'm not prepared to like give recommendations off the top of my head of the best ones. One of my 10 commandments of gambling is thou shalt not make side bets, and I stand by that.
Okay. So do you want to do the trivia answer?
Yeah, let's do the trivia. Let's see if anyone got it.
Was it alcohol, tobacco, and firearms?
Firearms are not something that you consume, but the alcohol and tobacco were 2 out of 3, right?
How about caffeine? Alcohol, tobacco.
Yes, alcohol, tobacco, and caffeine. And I don't think that they used the term caffeine. I think they said coffee, but most devout Mormons interpret it to be caffeine in general. So good job there.
Woo! Very nice.
Okay, I'll ask one quick final Mormon question. What is the subtitle to the Book of Mormon?
Okay, so if you guys know, put that in the chat. And our next question comes from Margaret, who says, "What authorities govern or regulate slot machines and table games on board cruise ships?" That's a fantastic question.
That's a good question. I already did one cruise this year, and I'm going to do another one later. And I'm going to say that they're basically self-regulated. Ultimately, you have to look at the flag that the cruise ship is flying under, which is often Panama or Liberia. So if you're on a cruise ship, even if you're just going from LA to Ensenada, technically you're on a little piece of Panama or Liberia, and you would be going by the laws of that country. Now, I think that if you approach the government of Panama with a casino complaint, there might not even be a branch of the government that would hear the complaint. Like, I have written to the jurisdiction in Curacao about a complaint with an internet casino that was blatantly cheating. And this was the branch of the government in Curacao that one would pay to get a license. They didn't even give me the courtesy of a reply. I think that had they taken the time to reply, they probably would have said, you can go through just the Curacao courts with this. And here is the first step to take. But no reply at all. And I think that, but nevertheless, these cruise ship casinos that do tend to, I do believe, are well run and well managed. And I think they have better dealers than than the average dealer in Las Vegas. And so I think that if you did have a complaint, just take it politely with the casino itself. And I think that they would try to be fair with you. But if you're not satisfied with that, basically, I think you're out of luck. I think that, again, my short answer is they're self-regulated, much like tribal casinos and internet casinos.
Okay. Okay. So do you think we could get one more question in?
Okay,
We'll
one
do a
more, hopefully a quickie.
Fast one. Is there any affiliation with Wizard of Oz fireworks?
Nope.
Okay, super easy question.
Okay, let's see if we have any answers on the subtitle to the Book of Mormon.
Is it alcohol, tobacco, and caffeine?
No, that was the
coffee. No, I'm just playing.
I'm curious about, I see somebody wrote nanoparticle silicates, chlorinated hydrocarbons, yellow cake uranium. I wonder if this is what goes into Go Lightly. Whatever goes into Go Lightly, it does not taste like any kind of a natural food. It tastes like some amalgamation of just miscellaneous chemicals. Okay, but let's see what we got on the subtitle to the Book of Mormon. I'm not seeing, yes, Grand Flash Herb. I don't know if you're a Mormon, but if you are, you're a good one. Yes, it's another testament of Jesus Christ. So there we go. So happy Pioneer Day in advance, everybody. Remember, July 22nd. And let's schedule our next live stream. How about August 10th?
Okay, August 10th it is. Cool.
Okay, so I apologize if we didn't get to your question or comment. Thank you, audience, for your participation. Thank you, Heather, for producing the show.
Always a pleasure. And we will see you again next time.
Okay, bye, everybody.
Bye.
All right.